To begin with, just to give you a little background, this is my 12th book. I didn't start writing till I was 56. I've enjoyed the process, and this one has been on a back burner for some time. I had the idea for this book over 30 years ago, and it's been in the drawer and it's come out, and it's been in the drawer and it's come out, and it's gone through many incarnations. It was once called Stairway to Paradise, and there's been lots of different titles, but in the end, it felt right to call it Dare. Helen Keller wrote, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all." And I've discovered through my life that when we take on that approach, that life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all, we literally can create wonderful adventures of our own choosing. The key is we have to dare to do that. And that's what Dare is about. I was born as part of the post-World War II mass migration of baby boomers on the planet. In the winter of 1957, I was born an illegitimate child to a teenage mother. I'm very punctual, so obviously I was kept waiting because of it. But also, I think on a very deep level, and I go through this in the book, is that I learned the toxic twins of abandonment and rejection. And so those toxic twins started in the recesses of my mind. I didn't know that. We don't know that. When we're born, we don't know what we're drinking in. But my book goes through the process of how I discovered abandonment and rejection were leading factors in the life that I created. So from there, I was very fortunate enough to be adopted by Max and Beryl Bowman. They had been waiting for 12 years in the adoption queue. That's how long they'd waited. And they were absolutely delighted that finally, at the age of 46 and 36 respectively, they got this little baby girl. So I wiggled my nappy off to the music on the radiogram, and then what happened was my parents made an inspired decision and sent me to ballet classes. And that was it. I was in love. I had found my destiny. I loved the freedom that dance gave me. And I was a conscientious kid, you know, I would work hard to get my pliés right, and I would do everything. And of course, as a kid who was abandoned and rejected at birth, I did everything I could to win the praise of adults. That's what I was after. I wanted that praise. I wanted to know that I was good enough, because I obviously wasn't good enough because I'd been rejected and abandoned. So I was a conscientious student, I worked hard, I did everything I could to succeed. I was happy and inquisitive, but underneath it was this duality that was going on, was abandonment and rejection. And I didn't know that, but I found that out a lot later. So I was one of those Pollyanna kids. I don't know if you've watched Pollyanna. Remember when Walt Disney made good movies? When Pollyanna was there and she'd look at the crystals and she'd see the rainbow against the wall, and she just had that wonderful, optimistic outlook. That was me. I was Pollyanna, everything in life. So when I was 11, I choreographed the hula, and the four of us all ran out in a little raffia skirts, and they were doing the little and I thought, yes, my dreams have come true. This is the beginning of my entertainment career as a director, a choreographer, and a lead dancer, and it's all happening. And then we got the applause, and I went, yes, that was great. Came off the stage, Mum was effusive as usual, and Dad was there, and I got all the support. I walked out into the church grounds, and then what happened was these waspy women going, oh, what a disgusting display of bare midriffs on the church stage. We were 11. Like, seriously, I can laugh now, but at that time it just cut me to the core. That was so wrong. That shouldn't have happened. And so these waspy, bitchy, horrible women were saying these things. Now, my mother was very, very underconfident. She just wasn't somebody to stand up. And so she bundled me off, and she gave me lots of love in the hope that that would be okay, but it was not enough. And at that point in time, I made a defining decision. I made a decision that I wanted to fit in, and I no longer wanted to be special. And I said to my parents, don't you ever call me special again. Don't you ever say I'm a special child because I was adopted. I don't want to hear it again. And they never spoke of it again. I tell you this story and I write this book not because I'm a narcissist and I want you to know about me. I'm hoping to give you, through my experience, the power of the mind and what we do with all of these experiences and how we can push them away until they don't exist. And it was my father's death when I was 28, and he lay on the bed in the hospital, and his wife, my mother of 44 years, was sitting beside him, and I was sitting on the other side. You're going to have to excuse me here. And I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, Daisy. And he'd always called me Daisy. And he was the one in my life who used to say to my mother, don't worry, Bebs, she'll be fine, she'll be fine. And so he laid there and he said to me, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And the moment he left, I knew that I would choose for my freedom and I would be fine. And I divorced my husband. And so there I was, cut free, thinking, yes, this is great, I'm 28, the world will provide. And it did. There, we'd worked 8 weeks of rehearsals, and we'd worked 10 hours a day. Then Jerry and I would work at night, and we'd do the lighting plot, and it was an amazingly creative, energising time. And so when we opening night came, that light curtain went on, that proscenium curtain went on, and off we went. And it was astonishing. So for the first few, I didn't know they were all smoking dope. I didn't know my lead singer was coming in coked. Like, I was so naive. Like, you know, I thought everybody had my work ethic. Silly me. I still think that. Silly me. So anyway, so we opened on the 14th of February 1986, and we shared our love with the world. The opening of Stars, February 14, 1986. And then a few months after, the producer called me for the production meetings. And the production meetings were usually held in his office. But this day, the production meeting, he said, was going to be in one of the rooms in the hotel. And it was, exactly. At that time, that's what happened in my head. And I went, no, that's all right. Never ignore the voice in your head. And so I thought, that's odd, but you know, type A personality, off I go, boom, boom, boom. And it was just me and him. And then I went, oh, this isn't good. And he proceeded to say to me about our future, our professional future, all hinged on my willingness to have a personal relationship with him. And that's when I got really cold and clammy, and I went, no thank you, that's not going to happen. And I skirted the room and I left. And as I left, I knew that I had made a very, very powerful enemy. And from then on, it really did go downhill. And so on the day I lost the life I loved, I went into hiding, unaware of the powerful shift taking place in the midst of my tragedy. Not that I cared. Curled in a sobbing ball of soul-destroying anguish in my small rented flat, I wallowed in a pity party for one. The colour of the bile green mosaic floor tiles matched the bodily fluids purging themselves from my throat as my body wrenched itself inside out. My rejection was complete. Even my stomach didn't want any part of me. If anyone had tried to comfort me or explain the higher purpose of my catastrophe, I would have hurled fury through my fingertips at them, like a true superhero, striking them asunder. Except at the time, I felt anything but super. Just as well God didn't speak to me in his best baritone voice, or he would have promptly been told where to go. Humiliation, despair, and seething injustice shackled me to the bottom of the barrel, which in this case was the cold, unforgiving bathroom floor, where a churning mass of emotions took turns wringing my heart until all my passion for life was squeezed dry. Hell is the truth learned too late. There was nothing left for me to do, and in doing nothing, A vast universal energy unleashed itself, exploding my consciousness, urging me to let go, to let it be, to let me be. My spirit, my being, was free at last, free at last. And that moment I stepped through a doorway, and there's no coming back when you step through that doorway. Once you know, you know. And I knew. I didn't know all the answers by any means, but I knew there was something more than just me, the puny, pusillanimous personality that was labelled Diane was this big in life, and that there was something vast and amazing. And from that is bizarre. If you've grown up in a family that's your biological family, you can't understand what that feels like. So I'm looking for a woman that sort of possibly looks like me. And as I walk through the restaurant, I talk about it in the book as that it's a mirror, like a mirror in a misty bathroom. And that all of a sudden, your hand wipes the mirror clean, and then you see that face. And it's a face you've never seen, but it's a face you know. We live in an inverse reality. We've been told that if we do this, we can have this, and then we'll become that. What I discovered is it's the other way around. We firstly have to be the person who can do what matters in order to have what counts. And I'll just read this one to you. The unexpected happened. Of course, nothing is unexpected because we attract to us that which we become. But for me, it seemed unexpected in the instant of its manifestation. A couple of years prior to this moment, when my marriage was faltering, I had worked with a new intention. During my regular dance classes, I placed my intention on having a man in my life who loved, lusted, and longed for me. Someone who matched me on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. I hadn't thought about this intention for some time, certainly not since my marriage ended. Thoroughly in love with my new single life and the freedom it gave me, I didn't want a serious relationship. I was having too much fun flitting from one man to the other, like a hummingbird drinking the nectar from the flowers in the garden. It was a good time, the late 90s. But it happened when I least expected it. I met a man, not just any man, a successful, opinionated Australian Greek man with an intelligent mind, witty repartee, and generous spirit. That he was of Greek heritage was yet another sign. My biological mother had fallen in love with a Greek man, a love affair which had produced me. The coincidence danced with divine providence. I also had the wonderful opportunity to write 11 books, which is something I never thought I would do, but I've just kept daring. I've kept daring to follow the lead. Whatever that lead is, I've just followed it. Because at the end of the day, one of the things I've realised is that I don't know anything. All I can do is follow where I am led, and then explore that as a daring adventure. That doesn't mean I don't set intentions, and it doesn't mean that I don't actually focus my intentions or apply skills or align my action. But at the end of the day, it's about daring to go out where it is a little unsafe. And so life has a wonderful way of looping us back, of allowing us to feel deeper, allowing us to think more deeply, and to act more deeply, and to question what is the meaning of life, rather than just going along and along and along. And one of the things, if you take something out of this more than anything, and I repeat it throughout the book the entire time, and that is my key takeaway is one of Einstein's. Everything is energy. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. That is not philosophy, it is physics. Match the frequency of the reality you want. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Match that frequency, and you cannot help but get that reality, because that's how universal energy and consciousness works. So along this journey, I have listed in there 50 insights that I've learned. So you can even use this book as an I Ching if you wanted to. Every morning you could wake up and go, right, what do I need to see today? Pick the chapter and then look at the insights. Oh, look, be intentional, be generous, be undefended, be courageous. And then I identify the touchstones in my life and how I learned those insights of being. So there are 50 insights of being in here to help you be more as a verb rather than a human being as a noun. So I say all the time, dare to dream bigger dreams. Just dare to dream them. Who cares? If you don't get them, who cares? Dare to dream them, feel them, experience them. Dare to challenge our conditioned thinking. Dare to ignore our past limitations. Just ignore them. Ignore them. Do not give them any power. Once you go back and you start digging around in the dumpster of life, guess what? You're caught. You can't get out. Just ignore the bloody things and press on until those dreams or something better manifests. That is a rolling message I've put through this book. And in the end, I've lived Act 1 and Act 2 of my life because I stopped this book at 60. I got another 30 to go. Where is it going to go? I don't know, but I'm certainly in there for the ride and the journey, and I will dare and I will follow wherever that is. And for people who know about my political experience, you will know that, yeah, I certainly dared on that one. I haven't stopped though. As Socrates said, the more I know, the more I realise I know nothing. And that's the joy of life. That's the daring adventure of life. And I'll just leave you with this very last little excerpt. Still through Pollyanna eyes, I gaze upwards and know everything is unfolding infinitely in right time, right place. The dance of consciousness is eternal and everlasting. It's a joyous, radiant routine, effervescing with energy in a never-ending celebration of life. Swirling and twirling, the dance beckons us to participate, to put on our dancing shoes and step up the stairway to paradise. Don't sit it out. Don't fear the fallout. Leap from your sideline seat of ignorance and command centre stage. Dare to be the star in your own life. Dare to be you. The end.